lot of you guys have come up to Rob and Ken, and as well as myself, on some of the public outreach and education, and also trying to get people to care and how we're getting people to help us with a lot of the land seal conservation. So I'm going to touch upon some of these activities. The first couple of slides are just touching back on some of Rob as well as Ken's introduction. So again, we're in the middle of the sixth mass extinction, and we have a lot of these cartoons, a lot of these articles, headlines talking about this. So I'm not really going to go through this again, but just to start this off, biodiversity, we're losing it at an extraordinary rate. A lot of things are going extinct faster than we can record them. We also have this problem, this taxonomic impediment, that over the last several decades, that we are losing a lot of people, whether they're professionals or amateur or citizen scientists, that are able to help us to group, describe, classify, and identify this biodiversity. And so we are losing species at an extraordinary rate, and we just don't have enough people to be studying them, to helping us catalog as well as identify them. And a lot of the things that are going extinct are actually the lesser known organisms, the other 99%, these invertebrates. But the thing is that a lot of our outreach programs and educational outreach have these posters where, as Ken talked about, there's no invertebrates, maybe some of the things on the coral reef and the algae, and things like that. But, they would magnify birds, but you could magnify a beetle or a cricket or a snail. But even in this poster, no invertebrates, They could even make kind of like the less charismatic mammals, chubby unicorns. Like, I want a chubby unicorn too, So we need to somehow change the perception. So that we can help educate. But it's also very difficult because this is an example between monk seals and snails in Hawaii. A lot of our research are still focused on this, these extraordinarily large animals. So this is the number of publications, dissertation and theses, Google records of monk seal versus snails in a conservation title, Google records of monk seal or snail in Hawaii in any title from 1980 to 2015. You can see that, there are only a couple thousand of monk seals, and there are double the amount of dissertation and theses, as well as the Google records. A couple of thousand monk seals, several hundred species of snails, and just look at the amount of publications there are. So even our research are very one-sided. And so how can we provide information to these educations and outreach programs if we don't have enough research to be providing the information? So we're having a lot of informational gaps to be helping out education and outreach. And this in turn goes into funding opportunities, right? So we only care, we only fund things that we really truly care about. And unfortunately, we only care about things that we really know about. And as you can see with the IUCN, and this again, was reviewed by Rob as well as Ken, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but most of the mammal, birds, reptilian, amphibian species have been evaluated, whereas the insects, arachnids, mollusks, crustaceans, we have a lot of work that we need to be doing. So how can we get us to care about saving these lesser organisms that some people might not think are cute or even important? I want to say that we can use mollusks to actually help us really care about these next invertebrates. I actually skipped a little story that I forgot to tell about. A lot of people don't realize, but before I was a malacologist, I was an ornithologist. So I studied seabirds. So yes, Ken forgives me, but actually it was his fault. He actually converted me to the dark side. I was in seabirds. There was lots of money. There's lots of grants. But some people are saying we don't have a taxonomic impediment. We have a lot of taxonomists. That's good enough. But just back of the hand, the first World Congress Seabird, right? It was a couple of years ago. I attended. I presented my dissertation on the white tern, the seabirds. There were 750 participants just on seabirds. Not all of the aves, just on seabirds. UNITAS, AMS, we have that many people in these conferences studying all of mollusks. So, just back in the hand average, per every seabird taxa, there's like 2 or 3 researchers. But for malacology, for every couple of thousand, there's 1. So when people say there isn't a taxonomic, impediment, that there is not, any problem, I'm like saying, just go to these conferences. You will see a distinct difference. So yes, and so sometimes I feel like a fraud because just in 5 years, I became the Bishop Museum curator in Malacology and one of the world's experts in Hawaiian landfill, but that just really shows you how much information that we are still lacking, but how much more we can be doing to help conserve these snails. So, we can convert people to the dark side, right? And from what Ken said, there was cookies, and as a, struggling and starving grad student, I was on it. But yes, so getting people really interested in invertebrates, tardigrades, insects, spiders, we can really start with mollusks. This is the 2nd largest animal phylum. They're absolutely gorgeous, beautiful pictures that we can take of them to hook them into getting them interested. They're found in all different types of continents and oceans, adapted to various habitats, marine, aquatic, and terrestrial. So we have a lot of groups of animals that we can pick to try to get people interested in invertebrates, in malacological conservation. And I would even dare say, even focus on just the gastropods, which makes up 60% of mollusks. We have our furry sea bunnies, so we just need to pick some of our charismatic megafauna to hook people being interested in invertebrates so that they can care about it and then expand it to all of these other lesser known but just as important snails. So, I'm giving you the group that we can work on, but fundamentally, the question is, who cares? Okay, great, we have a group of animals that we can get people interested, but fundamentally, are they even important? So I pass that to you guys. Are they important? Should we even conserve them? If they are wiped out from the earth, do we really care? Is it going to harm anything? So are they important? Yes. Okay, so how? What? Okay, how are they important? They're a food source. All right, since you're talking to me, you get a Hawaiian landstill tattoo. All right, any other answers? So what? Habitat indicators. Okay, so I also have another sticker. Do you want a tattoo or a sticker?
Oh, a sticker.
Okay, a sticker. All right. So habitat, right? Food source. Why else are they important?
They create housing not only for themselves but for many others.
Right. Exactly. So they are helpful in the survival of other species. You want a tattoo or a sticker, or you want both? Okay, I'll give you both. Can you pass that down, please? All right, so actually, I'm going to be pretty nice. I'm going to pass this bag around too so that everyone can get a sticker or a tattoo. So you can get your first pick. So, let me get this back. So yes, I'm sorry I'm preaching to the choir, but this is something that is really important in group settings and getting the community to be answering this so that they can be teaching other people as well as getting everybody else excited. And positive reinforcement, getting the sea bunnies or the colorful mollusks and making them to stickers, making them into awards and rewards, and gets them really excited and really in tune to what messages you want to be giving them. So yes, snails are important. They're important for litter decomposition. They put nutrients back into our soil so the plants can grow. So talking about ecologists, right? Or how can other types of researchers get involved? Well, for them to understand the importance of snails in the ecosystem. Food source, snail kites, the one in Florida here. This is an endemic carnivorous moth in Hawaii, so it only preys upon land snails, which is really, really cool. And we eat them. They're actually really yummy, right? You can, marinate them in pretty much anything. They don't really taste like anything, but they're great sponges. Put them in garlic and butter or curry powder. You can create, extraordinary yummy ingredients. So getting people excited about that too. But they're also great as bioindicators. They are a reflection of the health of an ecosystem. We found out that the higher diversity and abundance of a lot of these snails equals a much more healthier ecosystem. It's important culturally also. So throughout the South Pacific, they've been used as money. In Hawaii, they use the cowries as octopus lures. We collect them. They're extraordinarily beautiful, and we still continue to do so. In Asia, there is a nice fad now saying that the mucus of the snails is a great exfoliant and will make your skin smooth. So snails are important, whether in our ecosystem, in biology, in saving the world, as well as personally also. And we need to get all of these aspects into the public so that they do understand how important these snails are. And once you get them hooked, then you can teach them a lot more about the life history, on how to identify them. And, small little ripples become waves of caring, right? So how can we share our knowledge and enthusiasm, about these snails? And all of you guys are. So, what can we do from our room and spread it to the public? How can we foster a passion for mollusks? And not only that, but, using mollusks for us to understand the world. There are questions about understanding biogeography, the MacArthur Wilson models. How can we test that? How do we understand patterns? So we can definitely use mollusks in our research and in our jobs to really express, how other people can figure out science, nature, and other animals. So one of the things that a lot of us do who are in academia is to incorporate undergraduates into our research. Things just from trying to figure out GPS coordinates, simple basic field work, field surveys, teaching them how to use microscopes, but all centered around studying mollusks, right? This is one of our snail squads of undergraduates, and so we have a bunch that goes through the years, and some of them still email me and say, I hate you, Norine, because every time I go hiking, I just see snails. So even though there are 3 or 4 millimeters, you can train them to have the search image. People are saying, how can you see such small, tiny things? But the more you look at them, the more you see them, the more you see them, the more you can get people to be telling them, record this, record this. We get data points because of that. And so some of the work that we do, Ken was saying we have 800 sites, but we couldn't have done it alone. We had a lot of people to help us. We wish we could clone 10 of me and clone 10 of Ken and as well as Rob, but we can't. So we have to get a horde of people to be helping us, do these surveys and things. And I just want to talk about, 2 projects that we thought were success stories that we taught these students, from writing proposals and creating hypotheses all the way to even publishing. So this is Tori. He was pre-med, thinking, oh, snails, whatever. I just want to get some, experience in the lab. And he wrote a proposal, got funded, went out into the field, and he wrote this. He helped write this paper of how to better plan and organize our survey techniques to find, a more accurate biodiversity of snails. So he published this in 2013, so we were very proud of that, and it's been already cited by, several people. And this was a study back in 2014. Marty Meyer actually is basically an ecologist also, but using snails to help him answering a lot of his ecological questions. And him and Ken thought about this idea of trying to understand life history now. We know some of these snails up at Mount Ka'ala, which is a natural area reserve on the highest point of Oahu. We know the snails, but the next step is life history. What plants are they found on? And so this project actually recruited several graduate students as well as undergraduates to go into the field, to do different sites, to do a lot of these snail surveys and to figure out what plants they are found on. And so hopefully we can provide this information to conservation managers as well as other future snail researchers to figure out areas with certain plants that may harbor the rest of the native land snails. So these are some of the undergraduate work that we can incorporate into a lot of our academic projects and to help with the conservation and learning about snails. Another thing is high school interns. So, I'm going to be going a little bit down the list of what we do as higher education. But high school interns are very excited also about, trying to go out to learn about things. And a lot of these students are also very excited about saving small things. They want to be taking care of things. So to harvest that type of sentiment of little kids from GK through 12, from elementary school to high school, wanting to take care of things, wanting to find things. And they do like the large furry things, but when you try to make this like a treasure hunt, like a snail hunt, they're more excited because it's hard to find these things. And when they find it, they're really excited about it. And so actually, for this high school internship, it actually started with one high school person that started volunteering in the collection at Bishop Museum. And she got so excited that she talked to her other high school friends, and all of a sudden, in 2 weeks, I had 9 high school interns working in the collection, because they really truly believe in the message that you are trying to give out, that we're trying to help them, we're trying to conserve them. And so they take images of a lot of these collections. They database 4 genera already in 2 months in my collection at the Bishop Museum. So really, really excited about this, because they know that the information that they are collecting will be on websites, will be helping the other publics to really know about these snails. And they also dubbed themselves the Snail Squad. And so they're thinking like next semester to see if they can get a couple more dozen students to help out in the collection. So I got a lot of work ahead of me trying to train all of these students. But once you get them trained, they can train their friends and their friends, so that I don't have to be there to be tutoring and training a lot of these people. So then, just a small group, we are able to expand it wider and wider and wider, the reach. And so one of the other things we try to do is anytime there is some sort of science outreach, one-day work, going into schools to talk about science, we try to participate in those. Because like we were saying, it's the little kids that really get other people excited. And also what Ken was saying, they can actually find snails. We're getting older. The more we learn, we're getting older. We're like, is that a snail or is that a piece of dirt? But a lot of these kids, they're out there, they're excited, they want to learn. They do these dirt sieving like we do, and they want to find snails. They want to know, what is this, what is that? So we really get them excited. And we want to also try to incorporate the parents in there. So when you have these educational outreach that incorporates the students as well as the parents, you want to be in there. Because a lot of times when you ask them, why are snails important, the kids, all their hands shoot up. They know, they already instinctively know why a lot of the invertebrates or any animals or plants need to be saved. While you have the parents are just sitting there. So a lot of times when the kids have their arms shooting up, I tell them to put their hands down, and I try to ask the parents. And most of them don't really answer, right? But then we ask the kids, and they answer, and then all of the adults in the back, they'd be like, oh, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. So it really takes the kids to be influencing their family, their friends, to really learn about the snails. And then we're talking about this large informational gap that how do we overcome? Well, we don't really want to start sprinting and figuring those things out, because it's very daunting. But if we start small, start local, it will start rippling out very quickly. And this is only a couple of year project, and we have all of these projects, these small little projects, these kids coming wanting to volunteer at the Bishop Museum, wanting to know what else can we be doing. And so we put this lookbox around, and this was actually, did everyone get to see it by any chance? No? Okay, well, I'll start with you then. So this was something that I developed for teachers at a elementary school. So a lot of these teachers also wants to learn about these snails and wants to help out, but because we don't have a lot of the research out there, we don't have a lot of the field guides, we do need to take time out of our, I know, really, really busy schedule, but help with developing curriculum. We need to help provide some information to a lot of these teachers so that they have the material to be teaching it to the kids. So that lookbox was one of the things that I took specimens out from the Bishop Museum that didn't have a lot of data. So I made a lot of these boxes and gave it to these teachers so that they did have the material to be teaching the kids and showing them, because a lot of times they don't have the opportunity to be going out into the field to be seeing them. But once they're exposed to them, when you do take them out into the field to be finding these snails, they can start finding them. And they're so excited when they are able to identify them from what they have seen in the look boxes. So this is something that we really need to foster, is also teaching the next generation of science teachers that we can use snails to be teaching them a lot of the concepts and topics of basic biological questions. The next step is to reaching out to more of the public. I talked about a taxonomic impediment, but it's not just the lack of professionals, but we're also declining in a lot of the citizen scientists, a lot of the amateurs that actually care about natural history in general. We need to have more snail blitzes. We have bio blitzes where we have, assessing the conservation and diversity of an area, but we can do that with just snails. People don't realize that there are a lot more snails around. They just look, whether they're invasive or they're native. And so we're hoping to do a bunch more programs and development. Rebecca Johnson in the Cal Academy, she's been doing a lot of public outreach and bio blitzes. And just in the month of May, she was organizing 20 bio blitzes, right? And part of it had the snails too. But we need to start developing these programs, and again, they will start rippling out. A lot of people will start jumping on board and helping out, and then we can have more and more snail blitzes, whether in the intertidal, in the marine system, or even in the terrestrial aspects. And we really, really need to foster citizen scientists. They are also very observant. They're out there. We don't have a lot of us, researchers, but we can recruit a lot of different eyes, a lot of different hands, and every time they record something, they take a picture of something, they ask you about it, that's a data point, so that we can start creating the database and the lack of information that, that we are currently undergoing. And then the next thing is, we're talking about how to get ecologists, how do you get other researchers involved. Well, we had a lot of workshops, well, not a lot, actually 2 or 3 workshops, where we invited a bunch of different agencies, whether they're Nature Conservancy, rare plant extinction programs, USGS, Fish and Wildlife, people that know nothing about malacology, but they know that it's important to save them. But because they don't have a lot of the information out there, it's up to us to be teaching them, to be giving them at least some basic field guides so that when they are out there, they can be like, oh, I saw this, and email it to me. What is this? And a lot of the areas that we have gone to, we couldn't have gone without a lot of these conservation agencies. They provided helicopter support. They gave us maps for their avian transect so that we could also try to survey along those areas. And they get really excited because a lot of these snails are only on their island or on their mountain ridge, so they're very proud of their snails. And we need to foster that type of pride and enthusiasm and excitement. So, and they sometimes compete with each other. So some agencies on Kauai will be like, I found X number of snails, and Maui guys would be like, no, we found X number of these snails, and they're only found in this mountain range. So we need to foster that type of competition in some ways and enthusiasm to get people really excited about our snails. So I want to provide some success stories that we have, because we have now a nice cohort and a community of people interested in snails. We have had people send us pictures where we thought some of these snails were extinct. And a lot of the conservation agencies are recruiting malacologists in their biodiversity surveys, whereas before they were going out into these areas and they would have the avian specialist, the insect specialist, the plant specialist, but there was never a malacologist. But just in the span of these 3 or 5 years, a lot of the survey work, they're now asking to have a malacologist on board to see if there aren't any native snails left in the areas that they're surveying. So here are 3 species that were thought extinct. But over the last couple of years, so these 2 species, Lamonella aspera and Leucombia canaliculata, were found by plant guys, because we provided the guides to them and gave them the workshops. Now they're opening their eyes. They're looking for the plants, and when they see the plants, they see the snails on it. And when they see the snails on it, they take a picture and be like, ooh, is this special? So we are very happy to see these 2 species. And because a lot of the things that we were doing, I would like to think that we kind of influence in the program in the state conservation to create a program to assess snail extinctions. And so Dave Sisko was out in the field because now I gave him a lot of the field guides. He was able to, figure out if this one was possibly a new species or an extinct species, and he brought them to me, and we found out that it's a rediscovery of Auricula pulchra, which a lot of people thought were extinct. So we're really happy that by providing more information to the community that they have their eyes out now to be looking for a lot of these snails. And this was one of the most recent surveys that, for the past decade, there were a lot of surveys done on this little atoll. Nihoa is in part of the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. And so over the last decade, there were a lot of ornithologists as well as botanists going out to these atolls to be doing surveys, and nothing about snails until recently when we were saying that maybe there are still snails out there. And so Dave Sisko was invited to go out to this atoll to do these surveys, and he found the Endodonta species and this Philippoa species. The last time this was recorded was 1980. That was the last time anyone was invited to Nihoa to do a snail survey. So for him to find these still extant was pretty exciting. This is the last Endodonta species that we have in Hawaii. So we need to be conserving this guy, or else all of the Endodonta will be extinct. So that's some of the success stories. Another thing is fashion and conservation. So now we're on Facebook and people are talking to each other and they want to know, how can we help? How can we help? Jennifer Bright just last month was saying that she has designed a lot of insect collections and has sold a lot of her bags as well as her dresses, and a lot of the profit went into conservation. So she donated a lot of her money into a lot of programs that conserve insects and things like that, and she heard about our land snail conservation program. And so she wanted to go into the collection to hopefully, the next line of work would be to have mollusk-inspired dresses and bags. And she's hoping to get more information, and then so that she can sell these, and a profit hopefully will go to the Bishop Museum as well as the Snail Extinction program. So, starting local, starting small, you can have a rippling effect, and it can go through art, fashion, and every penny, every dollar counts into helping conservation work. And so I kind of want to end it with a couple of quotes. This, as a lot of people know about Dr. Seuss and the Lorax. Unless someone like you cares an awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So people are like thinking, actually asking, well, should we even care about these things because they're going to go extinct? Like Ken said, there's still a lot that we can conserve. So yes, unless we care, it's not going to get better. Unless we start somewhere, we're never going to start. If we think we're going to fail, then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure. So might as well just try and see what comes up out of it. But taking a step forward, I just don't want you to care about it. I want you to save it, right? But first is getting people to care. Once they do care, getting them more involved so that they can save it. And this is a great overall quote that I like also. It's like, in the end, we will conserve only what we love. We will love only what we understand. And we will understand only what we are taught. So it's not just one little speck that we can do. We can do a lot of things to touch a lot of people to maybe hopefully get them started into wanting to conserve mollusks. And I just wanted to point out, we just don't want to just conserve the really pretty things too. We want to collect all the save all the small things, whether they are brightly colored or not. And so that's one of the things that I try to do is provide nicknames for these snails that Ken kind of talked about. Yes, some scientists will be like, no, we should learn the Latin name and things like that. But you really want to get a range of people interested. So, it's not going to harm if you put a nickname, Snan the Hat, Cinnamon Bun. The little kid says, oh, these look like beehives. And I'm like, great, yes, we're going to save the beehive snails. So these little small things will get them inspired and wanting to learn more. Then you can learn the Latin names. Then you can even learn habitat, where they're living and things like that. So you just got to start small, but they can grow really big. And so, I'm tasking with you guys, what else can we do? In some ways, I think I'm preaching to the choir because a lot of you guys are doing these things, but, are we doing enough? Should we be continuing? And what else can we be doing to get really people inspired about this, getting public perception to change so that the funding can go towards these lesser known organisms and the invertebrates? with that, that's it.